Tonight on News 5 Live, up to 60 men greet drug plane in northern Belize and an offload before police arrive. The Public Service Union may be close to ending its strike. And the Minister of Home Affairs reminds Belizeans that masks are still required. CDC requirements are for the U.S. only. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get
Newscast.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime. While with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited
are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Do you need to apply for a Social Security card? With our newest online service, My Social Security, applying for a card just got easier. With a My Social Security account, you can apply for a card anytime and anywhere, putting you in control. To use this service, you must first create your My Social Security account. Visit our website. Under Online Services, select My Social Security, provide your personal information, and await activation of your new account. After activation, you are free to log in to your My Social Security account to complete your online application for a Social Security card. Be sure to book your registration appointment to finish the card application process. Gain control and truly experience Social Security at your fingertips.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, May 14th. I am Brighton Codd. Another suspected drug plane touched down overnight in a remote area of Blue Creek, Orange Walk District. The aircraft was one of 3 business jets that departed from South America on Thursday night. The flight paths were shared with Belizean authorities, and despite the deployment of law enforcement officers to that vicinity, the airplane appeared to have been successfully offloaded prior to their arrival. The quantity of cargo that was discharged from the aircraft remains unknown. What has been determined from aerial surveillance is that as many as 60 armed individuals approached the plane when it landed near the Mexican border. This morning, Minister of Home Affairs Karim Musa provided details on the latest incident.
Last night, the police department was notified, as we usually are, by our counterparts, that there were 3 trucks, 3 suspected airplanes leaving South America, heading in the direction of Central America. And I think approximately 1 or 2 a.m. this morning, it is confirmed that one of those airplanes landed in the Blue Creek area of the Orange Walk District. Our officers were deployed to the area. Thankfully, we got informed from a very concerned citizen in the area who actually assisted us in identifying the exact location of the landing. So it was based on that intelligence and that information that the police headed to the area. Unfortunately, by the time they had gotten there, The suspected cargo, again, this is all speculation. I don't think any airplane comes here empty. So the suspected cargo had already been offloaded, and we suspect that because of its proximity to the Mexican border, that those suspected drugs, again, all suspicions, have made their way into Mexico already.
According to Musa, while police and BDF personnel were dispatched to the area within a half hour of its landing, the heavily armed welcoming committee had wasted no time in clearing the contents of the aircraft. The fact that these airplanes continue to make landfall in certain parts of the country raises suspicion of the involvement of Belizean actors in the illicit activity.
In terms of the information that we have been getting from the air asset, what it managed to detect is some 60 or so heavily armed individuals offloading. And so what we are saying is that basically we cannot confirm whether those individuals are Belizeans or Mexicans. But again, because it is an air asset, what it was confirming is the presence of these individuals in the area offloading cargo. And again, we got there, I would say, 30 minutes after the landing, after the suspected or alleged landing. We have to look at all possibilities and all angles, Dwayne. It has to be a fact that there must be participation from Belizeans at some level. As you know, in the last instance, the last plane landing that happened in the River Valley area, we were able to intercept a number of individuals, including police officers and BDF personnel. And so there is always the suspicion that we have to make, and the assumption that we have to make, that there are Belizeans that are involved in these illicit landings. And so I don't want to point fingers at any particular community to say that they are definitely involved. Like I said, the information that we gathered last night was from a civilian from that particular community notifying the police that a plane was in the area and where it was suspected to have landed. So it was based on that assistance from a member of the public that the Belize Police Department knew where to go. So again, I don't want to point fingers, but like you're rightly saying, it is highly possible, highly likely that there is involvement from Belizean participants as well.
Reports of yet another aircraft, this one landing near Little Belize in Corozal District, also surfaced this morning. The Belize Defense Force Air Wing provided aerial support, but up to midday could not locate the so-called second drug plane.
We are getting information that one was seen flying over the area of Little Belize. And so what we have is we have the police department on the ground checking that area, as well as the BDF Air Wing doing a flyover to determine if any aircraft went down in that particular area. Up to 11:30 this morning, the time of this interview, I cannot confirm. We have not gotten confirmation of a landing in Little Belize, but again, based on information we've been getting, there is the possibility that one may have landed, but no such confirmation yet.
The Belize Police Department has yet to release official information on this morning's operation. Coming up, is the strike action beginning to fracture? Find out which union may be about to settle with government and go back to work. Details when we come back. Stay with us.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word.
The Bible says, when Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciples standing by whom he loved, he saith unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Then he saith to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his own home. William Goldsmith Brown once said, the sweetest sounds to mortals given are heard in mother, home, and heaven. Abraham Lincoln said, no man is poor who has a godly mother. No one knew the love and compassion of a mother like Jesus. She was the first to greet him from the womb and the first to greet him from the tomb. She was first to the cross and first to the tomb. Jesus' love for her is best illustrated by the fact that one of his last thoughts was on his mother. From the cross, he looked down and saw her and said to John, "Behold thy mother." That is, take care of Mother John. No one can comfort and console like a mother. That is why someone said the best place to cry is in a mother's arms. She is there when we cry and often when we die. On September the 24th, 2010, in a New York apartment, the lifeless body of Cesar Mercado, senior consular official, was discovered by his driver, Amparo Amador, who had come to drive him to attend the UN General Assembly's annual meeting. The driver related, "Beginning 6 months ago, he told me, don't let them have a funeral for me here if I die. I want a closed casket. Just send me to my mother."
Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
I need data for finish my homework, man. Where can I buy credit around here?
You have insufficient funds.
Shucks! I need a call for help.
Please recharge and try again.
When you're lost, when you're scared, when you're broke beyond repair, you can lean on me. You can lean on me.
Yes! Did you credit me?
Need credit but short on cash? Or can't make it to the store? Digi's got you covered with the new Credit Me service. Get credit now, pay later. Just send Get Credit to 456. No need to fret, just use Digi's Credit Me.
Nestle. Start healthy, stay healthy.
Is the PSU on the verge of ending their strike? Well, according to one of their leaders, Dean Flowers, the majority of its membership surveyed overnight indicated they are in favor of accepting government's latest proposals. While those consultations will continue throughout the weekend, the PSU is expected to reach an official position by Monday.
What we did yesterday after the meeting was concluded is that we, of course, tried our best to update our council, and in the process of updating our council, we opted to also update general membership. And so yesterday we engaged with close to or approximately 200 members who made themselves available last night. We had a conversation with them in terms of how the meeting went and the clarity. We also explained to them the clarity that we sought from government as it relates to their latest, last, best proposal, as the Prime Minister described it. And so we have not effectively reached out to all our membership as yet. Actually, there will be another round of meeting over the weekend. In terms of the response that we've received, or that the initial set of responses that we have received would appear that members would appear favorable to the government's final set of proposal. However, that is contingent on our ability to put the ground rules in place, so to speak, because as you would know from the government's latest set of proposals, and in particular where any form of compensation may be concerned, that hinges on the performance of what I would describe as some specialized units, as well as that hinges on a tripartite social partnership agreement, and so those are some of the ground rules that we have to iron out.
Vice President Flowers says negotiations between the joint unions and GOB representatives over the budget may be coming to an end after 3 weeks, but the discussion on good governance is far from over.
I would want to think so. I think that with each and every meeting that we have, we're drawing nearer to the end. You have when faced in these positions, you have to always look at the glass as being half full. And so all of these meetings have been productive, and throughout all of these meetings, we've grown, our knowledge have increased, and that is what we continue to do. So I would want to say yes, we are approaching or nearing an end to the consultation process as it relates to the budget. But as I stated, being a lifetime partner with the government of Belize, the discussions surrounding better government, better governance, a reformed public sector, and every other piece of legislation affiliated with UNCAC, those conversations will continue.
The government's negotiating team has acknowledged the joint union's grievance with the Prime Minister's national address. On Thursday night, PSU President Gerald Henry told News 5 that an apology was given, but today, Vice President Flowers said he would not classify GOB's comments as an apology.
The Prime Minister's speech to the country and to the world before coming to the joint unions was a calculated move, was deliberate, and I'm pretty quite sure that he himself is unapologetic for that. But as we've always stated, the government's negotiating team has always been respectful gentlemen, and have always carried themselves as such, no? And they heard from the joint team our disappointment and our disapproval of the Prime Minister's approach, and they heard it, they acknowledged it. I don't know if I would categorize the government's team response as apologetic, but as good gentlemen, they heard us out, and they acknowledged and they recognized that we were not pleased with it. And they also stated that they felt that the Prime Minister was within his right to inform the nation of what clearly is a national issue.
In response to pressure from the unions demanding the implementation of good governance legislation to support the UN Convention Against Corruption, This week, Prime Minister John Briceño issued a document outlining pending legislation for 3 reforms. To put those commitments, now documented in writing, into perspective, News 5's Paul Lopez spoke to attorney at law, Darrell Bradley.
One of the things in terms of whistleblower legislation, and this is very common throughout the world, particularly in the United States, is that it protects persons with information. And it really ensures that they're insulated against victimization or against penalties for coming forward and essentially whistleblowing and bringing to light information of governmental wrongdoing. So the idea with whistleblowers legislation is nothing new. In some cases, there's a financial incentive for persons who are whistleblowers. You actually get a percentage of the money that people or the government can recover as a result of investigations of illicit government activity. But the thrust of any legislation is to protect individuals who come forward. Sometimes people in certain countries who come forward and report acts of corruption suffer threats to their life. In some cases, they may be killed, they may lose their jobs, they may suffer repercussions. And so the major thrust of a legislation like this is to protect those persons from coming forward.
To recover public assets wrongfully acquired by public officials, GOB committed to a civil asset recovery bill. This bill also covers unexplained wealth by way of an unexplained wealth bill.
What are we talking about there, and why combine these two bills together?
It's an important point because I think that they need to have very strong criminal laws in relation to illicit gains from public officials. And I think when you target a civil asset recovery legislation and you tie that within the very important question of illicit gains by public officials, which is really an illegal activity that people should go to jail for, I think to a certain extent it diminishes the importance of what you're talking about. You really want to have a standalone legislation that deals with unjust enrichment and that says very plainly that any person who acquires wealth that cannot be explained, they would suffer penal consequences, including that they could go to jail. So there has to be a civil recovery element of that. But first and foremost, you want there to be a very strong deterrent for corrupt activities. So that strong deterrent is that you go to jail. You have no right to the asset anyway. But what would really make it so that people do not even think about illegally touching public funds or misappropriating public funds is the risk of imprisonment and serious penalties that would attach to that. So I do believe that one of the things that you rightly mentioned in terms of the combining of the legislation itself in one vein, I'm not saying that I have that view, but it may weaken what you're talking about because you want very strong criminal penalties.
Campaign finance reform became a leading conversation months before the 2020 general elections.
Right now, if I wanted to look at any of the campaigns in the United States, I could go on a website and I could know how much Donald Trump raised in the last election for president in the US, how much Joe Biden raised. I could know how much Hillary Clinton raised. I remember at one time I actually looked at the system in the United States, and one of the things that I was surprised about is how much money they spend on pizza. Because when you are in a campaign election, you tend to feed a lot of volunteers and they buy a lot of pizza, millions and millions of dollars. But that's a very transparent and a very robust system. And that's something that we need to adopt here in Belize, so that this is one of the areas of transparency legislation, that you will make it publicly aware, you make the public aware as it relates to how much money political parties and their agents are collecting and the candidates themselves, so that we would not have instances of Left Derman or other individuals who are giving significant amount of money to individual candidates, and that money is being kept secret. The idea here is that elections should be dictated by the vote. And if you have an individual who is allowed to give one political candidate $50,000, $100,000, $1 million, clearly that person will have an undue influence in the political process.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.
And while Bradley agrees there is progress, he is concerned it took protests from the unions to get these good governance reforms on track. He notes this has been a trend under both PUP and UDP administrations. Instead, he feels there should be an ongoing conversation.
One of the things that I am concerned about is that these pieces of laws are emanating out of conflict. There is a union debate, and so there is not an organic discourse about this. It's a reactive measure. And this is true for both political parties. I think that both political parties have played political football with anti-corruption legislation. We saw that under the UDP administration, and I believe to a certain extent we're seeing it now under this new administration. One of the points that I would want to make, though, is that I'm very hopeful. As a Belizean, you have to be optimistic, and I will give the Prime Minister, the Honorable John Rosendo, credit for at least drafting the legislation and putting it out there for public discourse. The responsibility then now is for members of the public to respond. There has been an olive branch. There has been, so to speak, a first step in terms of putting the legislation out there. There has to be more consultation. There has to be formal dialogue. I believe that I've seen the draft whistleblowers legislation. I think that it needs to be strengthened in terms of the penalties, and it needs to cover more instances, and it needs to be more heavily incentivized. But at least we're talking about something. We're not speaking in a vacuum. We're speaking about draft legislation.
After the break, 3 men arrested for a big drug bust in Ladyville on Wednesday. Find out who was charged today when we return. But first, here is a look at the latest COVID-19 figures.
My name is Star, and I'm a Belizean trans man.
Star is a very fun person, very outgoing, a very friendly person, and quite a charming individual, to just spend some time with.
Dalila is a friend of mine. She's one of my only friends that have been very supportive.
I have so much admiration for Star, because I was never aware of the kind of discrimination that Star faces for just being who he is and being true to himself.
It's important to have allies that will respect me no matter what.
For me, being trans, being gay, being lesbian, doesn't matter to me, it doesn't.
Live and let live. Respect for all Belizeans.
Laying the foundation to get where we are today. Home Protector Insurance has evolved, keeping pace with an ever-changing world. Stepping into the future, changing the Belizean experience, giving you what you need, when you need it. Home Protector Insurance. If it's worth something, insure it.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
Hola, Tony.
Hey Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate.
Rain or shine, any weather. When we go ball, we go burger. Quality paint, no faded colors. When we go ball, we go burger. Let your imagination run free. Any color for this place, when we say ball, that mean it don't peel. Quality in every color, lifetime guarantee. When we go ball, we go burger. When we go ball, we go burger. Rain or shine, any color you need. When we go ball, we go burger.
Three men who police say were nabbed on Wednesday at a checkpoint in Ladyville with a hefty load of marijuana were today denied bail when they appeared before Senior Magistrate Arita Ford. The men, Ian Poot from Pachacan Village, Corozal, and Edwin Bowen and Eustace Andrews from Belize City, appeared with their attorneys Ellis Arnold and Richard Dickey Bradley to answer to the charges before them. Poot, the nephew of former Deputy Prime Minister Hugo Pat, is accused of using a truck that is registered in the name of his two uncles, Hugo and Pedro Pat, in the alleged trafficking of the drugs. Pat, who is now the deputy leader of the opposition, has disassociated himself from the incident, issuing a release this evening saying he has no knowledge of what occurred and denounced drug trafficking activities. Attorney Bradley spoke with News 5 following the men's arraignment. Bradley accused the police of abusing their authority when they detained a larger group of men pending charges.
They have in fact been remanded to prison until 15th day of July, charged for a single count of being in possession of drugs with the intention to supply to another, and one person has been charged for supplying to another. What transpired from the information is that in fact some 9 or 7 persons were really detained and arrested, and up to an hour ago were still at the Ladyville police station, which would be beyond the 48 hours if they have not been released. They have complained bitterly that they were all forced to kneel on the street for over an hour. They showed their injuries, both the persons who were arrested and the others who were not charged. You can't, you know what is a strange thing, Marian? The Supreme Court of Belize this year gave a ruling, a decision. Justice Westman laid down that you cannot detain people and hold them in a police station for a period of hours and they are not charged. The police still not get that sense that you are depriving citizens of their liberty when you detain or arrest somebody and you don't charge them. Now these men were allegedly found with some box or seen handling some box or seen in the area of a box, which turned out to be drugs. They carry everybody. They keep them in the police station from Wednesday afternoon, and now they can't get in front of a Supreme Court judge. They believe that that is malicious and deliberate to them.
Bradley says the men involved in the sweep intend to bring a civil suit against the police department. The government of Belize has imposed a temporary travel ban on persons who have recently visited or arrived from the Republic of India, as well as the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Both countries are experiencing a massive explosion in the number of COVID-19 infections. On Tuesday, Cabinet agreed to institute travel restrictions. Earlier today, we spoke with Arun Huchandani, Honorary Consul General of India in Belize.
Our take is that we understand that every government has to protect its citizenry, and as the Prime Minister said, that it's a ban. I think it's definitely a temporary ban. Other countries in the nearby vicinities have done it. I think the United States has it. Mexico has more of a quarantine. But I think the Prime Minister has done that as more of a precautionary measure, and we understand that and we respect that. We have all had a very difficult last year. COVID has taken a very detrimental role on Belize and as well as the economy. So we understand that, we are sensitized to that fact, and we hope that the ban can be lifted as soon as the situation in India would turn around.
Can you give us an idea more or less of what impact it would have on either the Indian community that's traveling back and forth in terms of either doing business, or persons who are away doing school in India, or persons who are traveling on a whole?
India is still open for its citizens to return back home. For example, yesterday there were 3 students or 4 students on the remaining block that were here. Last year, late last year, we got approximately 600-700 students that migrated back to India. Medical students I'm talking about. I know up to yesterday 3 students flew back into India. So India is still getting in their nationals coming back home.
The Center for Disease Control in the United States announced this week that once Americans are vaccinated, there is no need for them to continue wearing a face mask. But this is not the case here in Belize, where authorities are continuing mask protocols. Being in public without a face mask is still a ticketable offense, and if you are caught, you can be fined up to $500. While the CDC's recommendations may be implemented in Belize sometime in the future, Minister Karim Musa reminded us today that masks have been effective in Belize. Additionally, most Belizeans have only received their first jab.
We will, of course, take our direction and guidance from the Ministry of Health. Dwayne, I know that the CDC has put that information out there. If it is that our local Ministry of Health believes that that is the proper thing to do, absolutely we will move in that direction to implement it. But what we have to remember is that a lot of our population is still not vaccinated. And so I would want to encourage everybody, it is still the law. Please wear your face mask. It is a buffer, it is a protection, not just for you and your loved ones, but for other members of the public. It does work. As you can see from the reduced numbers that we've been having. We're a special case, Dwayne, because everywhere else in the world, Costa Rica, India, you name it, the United States, they're seeing a surge. And so I think we have managed to find what I would consider a perfect balance in a pandemic, whereby we're able to keep our numbers below 100, and I would want to see that continue.
Belize is once more getting negative publicity about our mask policing. This time on San Pedro. On Thursday, Minister of Home Affairs Karim Musa was called about an incident involving the brother of Georgia Estrada, a Belizean model and social media influencer living in the U.S. She said her brother was assaulted and detained by police in the island town for not wearing a mask. In addition, during the incident, the officer allegedly pulled his service weapon and threatened the young man before taking him into custody. The incident came as a surprise to Minister Musa, and he did not condone the officer's actions.
The allegation against the particular police officer in San Pedro is that he raised his firearm to Ms. Estrada's brother, and in addition to that, pushed him in his head, and thereafter detained him. Dwayne, I think you were one of them who asked me the question at the time when we were converting these types of offenses to a ticketable offense as opposed to one whereby you are detained. And this is exactly the reason why we did that. Because you should not be pulling a firearm on somebody simply for not wearing their mask properly. Worse, pushing them in their head, worse, detaining them. That is the whole purpose of making it a ticketable offense. And so when I learned of that last night while speaking to Ms. Estrada, I had to intervene, Dwayne, because there was no reason to have him detained at the police station. And so we spoke with the officer in charge, and he was shortly thereafter released. So it is truly a regrettable instance, and one that I have advised Ms. Estrada and her brother to take seriously, because we do not want this to be happening again. That should not be happening, man. And any part of Belize, not just San Pedro, because it's a tourist destination. Yes, you have to be a little more sensitive to the fact that you are trying to encourage people to visit Belize, but we should treat all Belizeans, all tourists alike, and especially not for a ticketable offense like face mask wearing. That is not to be tolerated.
Estrada and her brother will be filing an official complaint with the Professional Standards Branch of Belize Police Department at the request of Minister Musa, who says that this is an opportunity to root out rogue cops.
I was a practicing civil attorney, and many of the cases that I took on involved the very police department that I now lead as minister. And so it has only been 6 months, but we do know that it has been years and years of entrenched abuse on the part of the police department, and it's something that we need to fix. It's not going to happen overnight, but there is a process, and it starts with making a complaint at the Professional Standards Branch. I know that I have the commitment of the Commissioner of Police, my CEO, and we are going to be very vigilant when it comes to these complaints, because that is exactly how it is that you start the process of rooting out rogue cops in the system. So it can't happen overnight, Dwayne, and I want to encourage all Belizeans, no matter where you are, please make a complaint if it is that you feel aggrieved by any act done by the police department, and we will certainly follow that up, and I can assure you that action will be taken.
When we caught up with Minister Musa today, we also asked for an update on his ministry's plan to address the spike in violence in Belize City. Minister Musa noted there are several measures already in place. He sought to assure the public that the ministry is working to address the issue and will continue to do so.
It has been an issue and a concern for decades in our country, particularly in the marginalized communities in Belize City. And so it's not that loved ones are now being buried 3 months, 6 months now. It's been years, more than 13 years, that loved ones have been having to bury their family members. And so it is a problem that we have to face. And the truth of the matter is that the police department cannot do so on its own. We recently made a decision to relocate Precinct 1 into the heart of one of these areas that is having the flare-ups currently. So we are now relocating that. By next week or the week after, we should be having our grand opening for Precinct 1. And so there is a greater presence in the area, but again, that's not to solve the crime issue. That is just to hold it down. At the end of the day, we need to get our young men into social programs, education programs, programs that are going to give them opportunities. That is the true and only way out of this pandemic that we're facing with crime at the moment. And so we look at it from a perspective of a short-term goal, which is to get our officers in there. It involves a lot of community intervention by the police department and those that are serious about tackling crime. It involves, like I said, greater patrols in the area, that sort of thing. The last thing we would want to do is to declare a state of emergency. That is always an option, but it's not one that we look to immediately. And so we are trying our very best to work on that. But at the end of the day, we have to think long term.
When we return, paying tribute to the teachers after an especially hard year of remote learning. Stay with us.
Hello, Belize. You may not be aware of the new travel requirements set in place by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Passengers traveling to the U.S. must present a negative COVID test or documentation of having recovered from COVID-19 to travel to the U.S. In light of this, Maya, in partnership with Caring Hands Clinic, have established testing centers in all their municipal airports. Caring Hands Antigen Test Center is operational in San Pedro, Belize City, Dangrega, Placencia, and Hopkins. These testing facilities are staffed by licensed healthcare professionals, including doctors, registered nurses, and nurse practitioners. Testing is done using Abbott rapid test devices that are FDA approved and made in the USA. The service is safe, fast, affordable, and the close proximity of the centers makes them convenient. Walk-ins are welcomed, but appointments are encouraged. If you would like to make an appointment, please feel free to do so at Make your appointment, get tested, and in 15 minutes, you can get back to your vacation.
Want to leave a lasting impact when you travel? Then travel locally. Make memories to treasure for a lifetime while making a difference. Make protected areas your next travel destination. With over 25 protected areas under the APAMO umbrella, the possibilities for adventure and education are endless. You can bond with friends and family while trekking through the jungles to discover natural pools and breathtaking views. Or take that snorkeling trip to the magnificent world of coral gardens and marine life. Then camp under the stars to end off that perfect day in nature. By visiting protected areas, you are helping to preserve valuable plant and animal life. You're building local communities and you're keeping our natural and cultural heritage alive. You have that power. Travel locally and make an impact. We invite you to visit a protected area near you and discover the beauty of Belize's wild places. APAMO, the voice of Belize's protected areas.
Offside!
Was that a goal? Over.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Students from City River Methodist enjoyed an educational trip to Tobacco Key in the South Water Key Marine Reserve this week. It was part of Reef Keeper Belize's series of field trips as part of a community stewardship and recycling program. The primary school students, accompanied by teachers, chaperones, and Principal Julie Fox, learned about the 3 marine habitats: coral reef, mangroves, and seagrass. They also went snorkeling and learned about the history of the key. For many of the students, it was their first time on Tobacco Key. Since 2007, Reef Keeper Belize has engaged over 2,000 students, teachers, and parents in their environmental education program. It's Teachers' Day, and across the country, educators are being recognized for the many roles they play in the classroom. They are also being thanked for persevering during a very difficult academic year. News 5's Paul Lopez reports.
I've been a teacher for over 20 years, 7 years in a private school and 13 plus years in the government school. I entered teaching because I love teaching. I love children.
When I was younger, I can honestly say that I did not want to be a teacher. There were a lot of professions that I really wanted to be. Like, I remember wanting to become a fireman. I remember wanting to become a pilot. I remember wanting to become a dentist. I remember also wanting to become a gynecologist. But when I went studying, I realized that teaching is something that came natural to me.
Their paths to becoming teachers may vary, but all Belizean teachers had to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. This has drastically changed the way teachers worked with their students. Despite the obstacles, educating the younger generation remains a shared priority.
We had to set our seating, 3 feet apart and make sure that they're not interacting with each other. So for that, it's going to be rough for us when we actually get back in.
For students, this is what I would want to tell them. Just go for your dreams. Aim high, aim big. The sky is the limit. Whatever you want to do, you can. As long as you push yourself, the dream is yours. You can make any dream a reality as long as you believe.
Students sent greetings to their teachers.
Hi, my name is Anaya Wilson. I'm 7 years old and I'm attending Horizon Academy. And I just want to say Happy Teacher's Day to my teacher, Mr. Donald Gill. Bye!
My name is Najir Kenna and I am 6 years old. I want to say Happy Teacher's Day to my teacher, Mrs. Granell, and all other teachers at St. Joseph RC School. To my mom, Natasha James Kenya, and all other teachers at Western Lower School. Happy Teacher's Day!
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly Scota. I am 6 years old. I just want to say Happy Teacher's Day to my teacher, Mrs. Mary Mejia from Infant 1 Right, and all the teachers from Holy Redeemer.
Happy Teacher's Day to all my teachers and all the teachers in Belize.
Happy Teacher's Day, Mr. Moody. Hello, my name is Kim and I'm from Jonathan. I am 4 years old. I just want to say Happy Teacher's Day to Teacher Teresa from my WCA preschool.
Happy Teacher's Day, Miss Leslie from St. Joseph RC School, Standard 4.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.
The theme for this year's Teachers' Day is Reimagining the Future, Education, Community, and Wellness. Just ahead, the Film Commissioner is poised to bring advertising opportunities to Belize. But first, here is the weather forecast with data from the Belize Met Service.
Next Gen sales event are back. Sign up and save big on cable and internet service with even more promos and discounts available at our upcoming event in your area. This month, find us in Belmopan City on May 7th and in Belize City and San Ignacio Town on May 15th. Keep following Central TV and Internet on Facebook and Instagram for more information on our sales event location and promotions. Next Gen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
I was 17 and in love, and I thought he loved me too. But now I know that a loving partner should not take away your choice of clothes you wear or the music you listen to. He should not take away your purse, car keys, or your phone so that when your family calls, you cannot answer. If your partner is controlling you, it is domestic violence. Call 0800-A-WAY-OUT or our cell phone number, 672-9628. This message is brought to you by the National Women's Commission in collaboration with Miss Universe Belize with funding from the Engender and Spotlight Project.
As police officers, we are expected to continue to carry out our duties, trying our best to uphold and also to enforce the health regulations. The police department has an important role in the overall fight against this pandemic. We have been affected greatly as frontline workers, but now we have a vaccine to help us move forward as a country. I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine. I will take the vaccine when it's my turn. I urge you to take it too. #GetVaccinated_Belize.
It is my time
to protect your life.
Don't wait to vaccinate.
I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine.
Do not hesitate, Belize. Vaccinate. Be COVID-19 safe.
The vaccine is the best way to protect lives.
Don't wait. Vaccinate.
If you care,
love them,
protect them,
vaccinate them.
Es un hecho. Únicamente con Smart obtienes todo realmente ilimitado. Solo con Smart obtienes datos ilimitados en cualquier momento. Mientras que con el otro proveedor solo son datos dobles los fines de semana. Con datos ilimitados todos los días no hay necesidad de esperar, así que es un hecho que nuestros planes ilimitados superan a la competencia. Por lo tanto, no permita que le digan cómo y cuándo usar sus datos. Y obtenga llamadas, mensajes de texto y datos ilimitados. Vive la verdadera experiencia de planes ilimitados con Smart. Es un hecho. Haga el cambio y viva Smart.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
In the world of filmmaking, there's a thrill that accompanies the whole line: lights, cameras, action. But Film Commissioner Nigel Miguel says he has been able to land an interesting marriage of film and scientific research. It should, if Belize is lucky, bring us some international exposure about the types of fauna that offer medicinal healing found in Belize. We caught up with Miguel and the crew at Black Orchid Resort where they shot their first ad today.
My business partner, Herb Dogan, has brought a company in Stemmergen, which is a lifestyle enhancement product. And they've come to Belize, want to film a commercial, but then also to talk about the benefits of the product and how it can help the country and the community. There's a couple different reasons why they chose to come to Belize as opposed to just the natural beauty. They're actually looking at potentially offering this as a distribution location. It's also a place where the plant that's used in the product, Stemmergen, is able to be produced here. So it's kind of multiple reasons why they're here in country today. As far as marketing the product, we have a gentleman by the name of Chris Spencer, who is a well-known figure in front of the camera, but his work is even bigger behind the scenes. He's a writer for the Emmys, the Oscars. He actually is a host of numerous BET projects.
The particular project that Miguel is involved in this week is shooting an ad for StemGrim supplements. CEO Christian Drapeau told News 5 that he has been involved in plant research for 3 decades now. He and his wife Stephanie have been looking forward to what can come out of this project in Belize.
These plants have been developed over the past 20 years. We've developed these extracts, we've published all of this in the scientific literature, and it is a novel concept. It is not easy to take a novel concept that is not currently present in academia and market these concepts. So right now we're basically using a team, so with Herb Dogan, with Nigel, we use a team that is basically going to feature the product, but with great cinematography, with great landscape, with great background to make the product, to help make the product known. So that is one of the reasons why we're here. And the second reason why we're here is because there are specific plans that I'm working on right now. They're not known, they're not marketed, they don't really exist on the marketplace, but they're used in remote areas of the world, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, for a very specific purpose. So we're starting to develop plantations of these plants to develop them as novel dietary supplements.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I am Brighton Codd. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.